Welcome back to my weekly Human Design Transit Report. Today is Monday, July 4th, and in the United States, this is the day that we commemorate the beginning of our nation. And the current transit has the Sun in the gate 39 and the Earth in the gate 38. I talked about this quite extensively in the last transit report, so if you want to, you can go here to find out more about it. And then I'm going to talk about the upcoming transit that starts on Thursday. So let's go ahead and get started. July 4th. Interesting. Here in the United States, we are having a big political, ideological debate and fight, if you will, about what our country means, about what is the legacy of the Declaration of Independence, what is the legacy of July 4th. And we have the Earth in the gate 38 on today, and the gate 38 is the fighter in traditional human design and the visionary or the visionary leader in quantum human design. And it's an energy about what is worth fighting for. What is it that you stand for? What are your values? What are your priorities? What do you want to pour your energy into? And in the last transit report, I talked about this is the kind of put your stake in the ground kind of energy, which seems particularly fitting for the day that we commemorate the Declaration of Independence, which in 1776, it was a dramatically radical proposal that all men, they said men, but we could say now all people, are created equal and are seen as equal in the eyes of God. And we're seeing people really interpret that legacy in very different ways. And this is not the first time it's happened. It's gone on throughout our history here in the United States. I am an advocate for a more equitable, sustainable, even beyond sustainable, regenerative way of being in the world. I believe that our economic system, our political system need to be changed dramatically in order for us to make it through this time that we're in here on planet Earth, and that we need to do that by coming together and not by reinforcing hierarchy, by being authoritarian, by collecting wealth and power in the hands of the few, which is what has been happening more and more. And so, my values are much more about being more equitable, more equality, taking into account the different financial resources that people have, the places where people live. People who are in lower income communities tend to have more toxins, more environmental challenges where they live. And we need to address all of this in order for us to get to the world that I know I would like to be able to leave to my child and to future generations. And so this is a really important time for you to be looking inside and seeing what does really matter to you, and to be putting a stake in the ground about it, and to be counted for what matters to you, because every single one of us makes a difference. Your voice matters, how you show up in the world matters. And I know a lot of times we've been conditioned to kind of hide out in big companies, hide out in families, hide out in certain neighborhoods, and not really be paying attention to or wanting to be seen as participating in these larger things. And I just think we can't afford to do that anymore. So I will reach out my hand to you and encourage you to step up and speak up for what matters to you. Then on Thursday, July 7th, we are going to have a shift, and the Sun is going to move into the gate 53, and the Earth is going to move into the gate 54. Interestingly enough, these are also on the root center, and so this is the third transit in a row where we are moving around the gates of the root center. The root center helps to regulate timing. It is our connection to the Earth. It is our connection to a certain part of personal power that we have down in the root of our body, down in that perineum and pelvic floor. And this is a place where we're connected to our survival, to our abundance, and to really our status as people who live here on the earth. And it's a really important energy for us to be getting in touch with, because we tend to get really focused up in here. Whether you have a defined head in ajna or an open head in ajna, we are all conditioned to be kind of talking heads. And so it's important for us to develop our relationship with our root and also with our sacral, even if you're a non-sacral being, getting connected to the power that is lower down in your body. And the root is a engine. It is one of the motors. It's the weakest motor. But nevertheless, it is a motor. And so part of what human design invites us into is to become more embodied as we're getting to know our own energy. And the root is a really vital part of that. So the earth is in the gate 54, which in traditional human design is called drive, and in quantum human design is called divine inspiration. Interesting re-evaluation of that, or reinterpretation of that, right? My conscious moon is in the 54, and I remember when I first saw that, I was like, oh, no wonder that's where all that drive comes from, because the moon is what drives you, and then my moon is in the gate of drive. Or ambition. It's also sometimes called ambition. And so this energy to be engaged has always been really strong in my life. I like this divine inspiration, though, because it's not just drive, not just ambition, raw ambition that we think of climbing the corporate ladder or accumulating more wealth to oneself. It's really a divinely inspired energy that is about how do we choose to engage in life? What is it that we feel driven or drawn to be engaging in? And so it's a wonderful thing to be having our earth in that right now, because it helps us to ground ourselves in what matters and also gives us some energy for taking action at the right time. Remember, the root is about right timing. So we do have to wait for the right time. But when it is, it gives us this energy. So here we are coming off of the 38, right? Which is that energy of what's worth fighting for. And now we have right next to it is that 54, which is this divine inspiration and this drive, right? Which can then be fueling what it is that we think is worth fighting for. And then the 53, which is where the sun is about starting things. So in traditional human design, it's called starting things. In quantum human design, it's called starting. And it really literally the energy for kind of getting things going. So when you put all of these together, you can really see how there's so much energetic support for us right now to be making new choices about how we're engaging with life, where we're pouring our life force energy, who we're engaging with. So that the 54 is in the tribal circuit. So it's part of the commerce circuit in the tribal circuit. So this is that drive or that divine inspiration is about how we relate to each other, and it's also how we navigate and negotiate with each other. Okay, so we're moving from that 38, 39, which were in the knowing circuit, which is plugged into superconsciousness, to starting to explore, well, what is it that we're going to be doing with each other? What does that look like? What does that feel like? What do we feel divinely inspired or feel driven to do in that regard? But then the sun in the 53 is in the sensing circuit, and the sensing circuit is right-brained energy. It's creative, it's expansive, it's spatial, it's embodied, it's experiential. So even though it kind of sounds like it might be logical, and it even looks that way if you're not sure 100% about how the circuits work, but it's in that sensing circuit. So it's a creative energy. It's like, what are we going to pour our creativity into? How are we going to tap into our right brain wisdom to be starting something that is meaningful for us, that is connected to what's worth fighting for, and that we feel divinely inspired to engage in? Big message that I get about all of this is a time to be developing clarity, and then be making decisions and then taking actions as the time is right. And as I said at the beginning here in the United States, and I think this is not just happening here, but I'm particularly familiar with it here, where we're being called to get clear, to take new actions, make new decisions, to tap into the divine inspiration that's coming to us, and then to be moving forward with that. And I want to say that not everyone is called to the political sphere, and I think that's totally fine. I am not anymore called to the political sphere. When I was younger, that was something I was much more engaged in and did a lot of political action. For me, I work more in the realm of consciousness at this point, because for me, we need to evolve our consciousness so that we can engage with life differently, so that we can be coming from a place where we're not just trying to fight each other or overcome each other. But for me, it's about building that new world. So I know I've been really looking at a lot of different work that's happening all around the world that people are doing around regenerative agriculture, regenerative governance models, regenerative food ways and energy forms and all of that. Because for me, that's what's calling me into putting my energy in what I feel is worth fighting for. But that's me. You need to decide for you. And I encourage you, get out your journal, talk with your friends, do some soul searching, and take this as an opportunity to, start some things, move forward with some things that maybe you've thought about or it's occurred to you, but you maybe haven't felt like you had the courage for it, or it didn't feel like you had the right resources or the right people in your life. And what I do know is that when you make a decision, and that decision goes all the way through your body, right? It's not just something you do with your mind, but when you feel that decision all the way through your body, that you will attract to yourself things that you need in order to move forward with what that is. So my prayer for you is that you will take this opportunity and use this energetic support to go to another level in your life. Okay, that's my report for this week. Many blessings. Much love. Bye for now.